Hello, everyone. This is Chuck Whetstone. Thank you for joining me today on this podcast. Yes, it is February and my voice has gotten hacked by a bug or whatever. It's been an interesting week, and voice is a little bit raspy, and I'll try to make it through this today so I can share with you the song story about cotton fields and share with you me playing the song and singing it. And so this week, just want to thank you for being here. If you've not subscribed to my podcast newsletter, it comes out on Thursdays. I'd be glad for you to sign up on this page and subscribe to the newsletter. And you get information that you don't always get on the podcast or on the blog. And so sometimes it's a little extra treat for those who follow me and subscribe to my newsletter. Get some insider look and some information, again, that you don't see on the podcast. This podcast is brought to you by heritagesongs.com and featuring this week, again, my journey through Lent. This is a journal that you can use for the time of Lent, which starts February 26th, Ash Wednesday, and will run you. There are 47 inspirational songs and pages to write down your thoughts and prayers and concerns for each day of Lent in this year, or whatever year it is. It's an open-ended year. You can start it at any year you want to. But my journey through Lent, heritagesongs.com. Thank you so much. Now, this is February. That's traditionally a Black History Month here in the United States. And so I thought I would share with you at least two songs this month that were written by Black composers. This one this week is written by Mr. Huddie. Well, let me say it right. We call him Ledbetter, but his real name is Huddie Ledbetter. Okay? Now, it's spelled Huddie, but they called him Huddie. Okay? Huddie Ledbetter. And he recorded this song in 1940. Again, better known by everybody as Ledbetter. Let me just share with you some facts about him. Ledbetter was from my home state, Louisiana. He was born in Mooringsport, Louisiana, which is in northwest Louisiana, not far from Shreveport. He attended school, and like it is with a lot of people, they don't go to all of school, but he left when he was about 13. He had learned to play some instruments, but when he left school, he ended up working with his dad in the farm, probably cutting cotton and doing the things you do to help your dad around the house. He performed at dances and things like that with his guitar. At age 16, he left and traveled the Deep South. When he was a little bit older, not much older, he married, and while he was living in Dallas with his wife, he got into a tussle with some guys and was convicted of murder and went to the penitentiary for a 20-year sentence. In 1924, history tells us that he was able to sing for the governor of Texas, Mr. Pat Neff. And interestingly, a year later, Ledbetter was released from prison. It's said that Governor Neff would like to come to the prison as many times as he could to hear Ledbetter sing and perform there. Now, 5 years later, he was involved in another stabbing in Louisiana and ended up doing time at Angola prison, which is a very notorious prison in Louisiana. Let me continue with sharing the story of his life. 1934, a famous man named Mr. John Lomax recorded Ledbetter at Angola. And after Huddie was released, he ended up working with Mr. Lomax for a short while. Ledbetter went on to be known as the king of the 12-string guitar. He just liked the sound of that 12-string guitar. Well, it said he actually thought it really kind of attracted women to him. I don't know. He ended up moving to New York, and he was a musician in New York. And sadly, in 1939, he was involved in another stabbing and got 18 months in prison upstate New York. Okay. Now, you think he would learn his lesson, but after a while, he got out of prison, ended up moving to the West Coast. signed a record deal with Capitol Records. And in 1949, after he had released some music and was making a living as a musician, he was diagnosed with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. He died at the age of 61 in 1949. But he's best known for his songs Cotton Fields, Midnight Special, Goodnight Irene, and Rock Island Line. Now, Cotton Fields tells a story about picking cotton in Louisiana, you know. When them cotton balls get rotten, you can't pick very much cotton in them old cotton fields back home. This song makes reference to Louisiana being about a mile from Texarkana. Well, that's not really true. Texarkana is about 32 miles from Louisiana. And so, but it's a play on words, you know, it just rhymed really good. And so Texarkana, a mile from Texarkana, it's really 30 miles from Texarkana. Anyways, northwest Louisiana, what Huddie Ledbetter is talking about here. Now, other notable song recordings of this song, because, you know, when I was growing up in the 50s and 60s, I started growing, you know, I was born in Shreveport, lived there a few years. And as I, you know, became a little bit older, 7, 8, 9, I'd heard Cotton Fields sung at that time, either on the radio or by my mom or dad or somebody. But other notable recordings, Odetta Holmes, 1954, Harry Belafonte, 1958, The Highwaymen, 1962, The Beach Boys in 1969. Now listen, I listened to their version. I like the Beach Boys on lots of things. I didn't care for their version of Cotton Fields at all. You can check it out for yourself. And then my favorite version of all is Creedence Clearwater Revival version, John Fogerty and the Boys. And that was 1969 on the album Willie and the Poor Boys. So if you get a chance, listen to that. On this website, I have included my chart of their song, and it's the chord progression for their song. It's not the way I play it on the recording. So if you want to listen to me play it on the recording, I'm just doing kind of straight boogie-woogie blues, okay? And a very famous musician, songwriter, poet himself, Mr. Bob Dylan, he credits Leadbelly for getting him into folk music. When he was giving a lecture one time, Dylan said, somebody I've never seen before handed me a Leadbelly record with the song Cotton Fields on it. And that record changed my life right then and there. Transported me into a world I'd never known. It was like an explosion went off, like I'd been walking in darkness, and all of a sudden, the darkness was illuminated. It was like somebody laid hands on me. I must have played that record 100 times. I know what Bob Dylan's talking about. When I first heard the recording of Long Tall Sally by Little Richard on a 78 RPM record at my home, I was never the same. I never heard that kind of music before. When I was like 12, 13, 14, when I first played it, I said, what is this? And I heard, I had a 78 RPM record of Carl Perkins doing Blue Suede Shoes. I mean, just amazing music that I'd heard. And I was not the same after that. So now, folks, ladies and gentlemen, there's so much history about Leadbelly. So I encourage you to look it up for yourself on the internet. Go Google Leadbelly. And you'll be able to also look up John Lomax and his son Alan Lomax. In fact, the whole Lomax family was involved with Library of Congress, and they toured much of the United States, especially the South, recording, traveling, archiving music, songs, folk tales, and the history of our people. And so I wanted to share with you this song, Cotton Fields, during the month of Black History Month, by Mr. Huddie Ledbetter, better known as Leadbelly. Thank you for watching this podcast, and be sure to support me on heritagesongs.com. Until next week, Chuck Westone signing off. Bye-bye. And so I like to think I'm related to Jerry Lee Lewis, even though I'm not. Because when I was about 3 years old, my dad got a job with me, and we moved to Texas. And so that was the end of my Louisiana roots, you know. And until I was about 40-something years old, I took a church there in Bossier City. So I made a full circle and went back to my roots. But this is one of the songs I grew up singing. It goes something like this. When I was a little bitty baby, my mama would rock me in the cradle in them old cotton fields back home. It was down in Louisiana, just about a mile from Texarkana, in them old cotton fields back home. When those cotton balls get rotten, you can't pick very much cotton in them old cotton fields back home. It was down in Louisiana, just about a mile from Texarkana, in them old cotton fields back home. I said when I was a little bitty baby, my mama would rock me in the cradle in them old cotton fields back home. It was down in Louisiana, just about a mile from Texarkana, in them old cotton fields back home. When those cotton balls get rotten, you can't pick very much cotton in them old cotton fields back home. It was down in Louisiana, just about a mile from Texarkana, in them old cotton fields back home. I'm gonna play it for you one time. Well, when I was a little bitty baby, my mama would rock me in the cradle in them old cotton fields back home. It was down in Louisiana, just about a mile from Texarkana, in them old cotton fields back home. In them old cotton fields back home. In them old cotton fields back home. One more time. Woo! Green balls on fire. Cotton fields back home.